welcome to the regular monthly meeting of the Board of Adjustments. The board was created by the city charter to hear applications for variances from the zoning ordinance requirements and to hear and render decisions on interpretations of the requirements of the zoning ordinance. The board consists of 5 voting members. It requires 4 affirmative votes for approval of any variance or interpretation. All cases on the agenda will be heard in the order listed. The order of proceeding for each case shall be as follows. Applicant shall present his case. Persons in favor of the variance shall present their evidence. Persons opposed to the variance shall present their evidence. The applicant shall be given a rebuttal period. The public hearing will be closed and no further testimony will be accepted. The normal procedure is for the board will discuss and take action on the application. All meetings of the board are open to the public. Anyone in the audience who thinks that for any reason they will speak before the board tonight, please stand and take the oath. Okay. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth in all matters pertaining to the cases before the Board of Adjustments? Please say I do.
I do.
Okay. You'll be seated now. Thank you. All right. I guess we'll go on with the roll call. It's Sarah Wimberly. Is that correct? Yeah. Okay. Jack Lehman.
Here.
Myself, I'm here. Roy Brown.
Here.
And Aaron Crosley.
Here.
All right. Okay. Guess we can start with our first case.
Yes, this is actually the 3rd time for this case. It was continued from the last 2 Board of Adjustment meetings to give the applicant some time to modify his plan somewhat to follow the desires and recommendations, suggestions of the board. In general terms, this is an application by Ron Medina, whatever, I'm sorry. Yeah, about installing building a garage in his backyard there at 2300 South Seminole Drive. The vicinity map is on your screen shows the general location of the site. It's on the southwest corner of Holkey Road and Seminole Drive. Hang on just a minute. Yep, okay. This is the aerial of the site that shows the applicant's property. His property faces Seminole, which is east. He has a driveway off of 23rd Terrace that goes into the rear yard where his garage is, and the back of his house is basically. Okay, this is the 3rd design that he's come up with that shows how he's modified the plans from before. Again, that shows a driveway off onto Seminole, and then another driveway off of 23rd Terrace, and it shows the location of the proposed building with on the northwest corner of the lot there. Again, it shows the neighborhood, his house, and all the residential properties around that area. Okay, here we're looking west directly at the property, the front of the property. And this is, we're looking north across the backyard. So we're standing on 23rd Terrace looking north into, you can see is where his cars are and the deck on the back of the house. This is the location where it will be built. This general location there. And this is looking, I believe we're looking east down Holkey here. And this is Holkey the other direction. This is another picture of the rear yard that shows the approximate location of where the garage will be built. I would like to say that basically there's 2 variances sought by the applicant. One is deals with the size of the building coverage, and also the setback. He seeks to construct a garage with 720 square feet. Therefore, a variance of 120 square feet is required. And also he has a 30-foot setback, but the building will encroach 27 feet into the 35-foot exterior setback, so he needs a variance of 27 feet. And he also provided a slideshow of his case, and if anybody doesn't have any questions on this, I'll go over to his slideshow so he can show pictures, and he also has a video prepared. Did anybody want to see any more pictures that was shown previously? No? Okay. Okay, the applicant can go through, and I'll just flip through these pictures as he goes. So go
Okay,
ahead.
this-
Be sure to give your name and address.
I'm Ron Moretta from 2300 South Seminole Drive. I'm the owner of this property.
Raise the mic.
Yeah, if you could set this up on here if you can. Be sure to speak into it so we have.
Okay, my name is Ron Moretta. I'm the owner of the property at 2300 South Seminole Drive here in Independence, where I would asking for the variance to build this building. This is an outline in flags of the building. The wide opening in the front is the door. This proposed site sits 8 feet off of my rear property line. If you can see it up in the top left part of the picture, you see the phone pedestal and the telephone pole. If you looked to the left of it, probably about 6 or 8 feet, that's my property pin. My property does not go clear down to those trees, so it gives me no backyard whatsoever. I have an existing drive that you saw a picture of earlier that comes into this existing shed, and it's probably 6 inches off that property line at one point. Okay, I can take the next slide. That, again, was the most easy place to put this building without a lot of grading and excavation. As you can see from this angle, it slopes downhill quite a bit. It's sloping here to the west. To put that building to face east and west, like I had been asked at one time by the committee, is could it be put there? Not really. The grade is so steep, I'd have to excavate into that bank, and the driveway coming down to it would probably have to enter onto Seminole Drive. At Seminole Drive, I've got a street light pole, and I'm very close to the intersection in that corner of my yard, so it would probably create a traffic hazard. It would also probably greatly create a water flow issue and bring the water right straight off this side hill into the front of my garage. I can take the next one. Down here, where it is, this is back to the original photo, or side view of the first photo, but I'm going to fill the low area on the west side, and it will flatten out a pad, and as you can see, as you're looking towards the south, which is towards the tarp building, it got a leak in it that last monsoon, it's pretty flat there to where I can hook onto my existing concrete. Okay. And then this again is a side view. This is from the north end of my property looking south towards the house. You can see the grade and the incline problems I would have there. Next one. Again, this is from the Seminole Street. Go ahead. This is the other side of the yard. It's worse than the north side of the south of the yard. This is the south side, and the grade incline is tremendously worse there. So it's basically out of the question to put that garage on this side. Attaching to that house would also create a great problem trying to follow that roof line. I don't know anywhere I could put that attached to the house and follow that roof line of that house. This is a property down at the end of the one cul-de-sac. They have a garage in the rear property, and they own probably a lot and a half. Okay. Next one. This is another one, and that's a three-car garage behind it. It's at, you can see 2431 South Ponca Avenue. That garage takes up a lot more of their proposed green space than what I'm proposing on my yard. Okay, the next slide. This is a picture, go ahead, that's another picture of that house. This is an aerial view of from my deck looking down to the front of the shed. That's the piece of concrete I'm going to attach to with this add-on drive. And this will all be a lot clearer in the panoramic video. Next slide. This is something I've had to do here recently. We had a storm coming, got a bunch of rain back to back. I was worried about hail. I had to tarp these cars. I didn't want them damaged. I don't have any place to put them inside. Next picture. This is another garage built, and if you follow the fence lines, you can see he's got very little green space of yard left. Go ahead, I've got another slide of this one. Here's the other side of his house. The garage I'm proposing will not take up this much room as far as green space in my yard. Go ahead. I took 3 different angles of that same house. There it is again. That proposed 36 by 24, that is now a 24 by 30. It has also been moved 3 foot closer to my house. Roy came out, took a look at the property, and we had discussed a lot of things. I had moved that now 3 foot closer to the house. The reason is the sachet I have to make from where the deck hangs over the house. I'm already moving the steps around that side to the north side, and that's going to create this effect to get into that garage because this property line on the west, the driveway on the west side borders that property line. You can see the line drawing on there. That property line is only 6 inches off that driveway. I run it from pin to pin with a string. Also, the building itself would set 8 foot away from the west property line. There is a 7.5 foot utility easement back there, so I moved it 8 foot. Okay, next one. Here's the panoramic view. This is from the south looking north. You can see the steps are gone off of the west side of the deck. They've been moved. Now they're coming into view on the north side of the deck. And they'll land down on the concrete. This is a wood constructed building. It has metal siding. The colors match the house. It has a 16 by 8 foot double door, one single door, or single double door in the front, and a walk-through door. It's got a concrete pad, and now you can see how that I have to sachet to get into it with a vehicle and a boat, because that's what I'm trying to put in this shed. This is not, of course, to scale. In order to run that program on a computer, you'd pay quite a bit of money, and I already got quite a bit in this variance proposal. I'm well over $1,000 into the, variance application, and I surveyed my lot, and I paid for this video, and a lot of legwork, a lot of copies, a lot of chasing. The tree line on the west side is much more dense than what it appears in this video. The grade of the yard is much more intense than what it appears in this video. I think Roy can attest to that. He has seen that part of it. That again is from the north now, looking south. And as you notice, my roof line isn't exactly right on, over the garage, the existing garage. It's not exactly how it looks, but it's a concept idea. The dark brown roof on that proposed shed, and again, that is not to scale. It isn't that huge compared to the house. I had the house measurements here, but that is how it's going to sit and transition in the yard. And you can see I've got a considerable amount of green space still around it. I think that's probably pretty much the end of the video. It's just going to continue to roll around to get to the front, or possibly an aerial view. And as I probably should have let it go, because as the aerial view comes in, you can see it's more in tune with the house. There's a picture up there that was not displayed somewhere. Do you have more pictures? There was one that was edited out. But if I may, I'd like to pass this to the board members. My lot is 85. And had they not cut that rear property line off the way they did, we probably wouldn't be here, because as you can see, I don't have a backyard. The survey in that packet, I know you guys got these pictures, but in this particular packet, if you'll notice, that rear property line shows to go clear to those trees. And it does not. That rear property line is actually 6 inches from that existing drive there in the back. You guys probably don't have it. Because I know that property belongs to this lady here, so I'm gonna show her, see how it looks like it's against that tree. It's not exactly the same when you look at that the other day. So, with that being said, I can answer any questions from you. I do have a little further to go. Does anybody have any questions at this point? Okay. I was looking through the council agenda here today on the phone of all times, and I noticed that Independence had a strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, they offer their mission, their goals, their vision, and their objectives. And a lot of the things that I'm doing with this building are going to fit that criteria. I'm using local labor. This building is probably going to cost me $30,000 or $40,000 to put up. Local labor, parts and accessories that I buy for vehicles I have and things I have. Anything I buy online is going to benefit the new online tax of the cities. The personal property tax goes up. The personal property itself goes up. I've had my house comped, which I gave you, and I know you got in the packet, but that comp came from Anita Covert. She comped the house with and without that proposed building. And you can see it raised the property value over $40,000, which will help the neighbors. It will impede me because it's going to cost me more in taxes, which the city will get revenue from. Everything I've got in that building is licensed, pay taxes on. Everything I intend to put in that building will probably be licensed and have taxes taken on it. Concrete, construction, grading, it's all offered work to the local contractors. They're going to be putting this thing up, so I'm helping with jobs in the area too. The building will have electricity in it. That's revenue for power and light, Independence. And the building's going to have cameras on it. It's going to be wired. It's going to be electrically provided, and it's going to help deter crime. You know, it's a little hard to steal something when you got a camera hanging over your head. And I have the type of cameras that whistle at you. I have met, to my knowledge, all the criteria asked of me. And in the Board of Adjustment revised staff report that I read, it states that. At the May 20th board meeting, I was asked to approach and discuss with the two opposing neighbors that opposed this and find out what their possible issues were. Neighbor to the southwest, who is here tonight, she was concerned about some property values and it being an eyesore to the neighborhood. And I think I've taken care of that with the comp and with the video. She also, as Roy can contest to it, from her property, really can't even see it, where it's gonna be. And the other one was to the west of me. Neighbor to the west was concerned about blocking the view up the hill, as they like to watch where the sirens are going. And he lives in a valley. It is a pretty good little hole there below me. And for resolvement, I have the building size reduced. I've moved it closer to the house. And from what we could see from the yard standing there, the only visual that he would have from his living room window was a small hole that is blocked by the existing shed, which is going away. So we've actually, by setting this thing back from the house as we have, not only covered the sachet issue, but I've opened up a view for him up the street now that's probably going to be more visible than what he possibly has now. That ditch is lined with trees. It's lined with horseweeds and stuff that get 8 to 10 foot tall. I should give thanks for that because they actually stopped me from smoking. I got ragweed poisoning so bad one time I couldn't breathe for 4 days, so I just wanted to see how long I could stay. It made me quit. Again, I'll answer any questions, and I do have a question for the board, if permitted.
Do any of the members have question for the applicant?
Mr. Moretta, I have a question.
Okay.
I wanted to clarify, did Anita Colbert make it clear that your request of variance would not lower property values in the neighborhood? Did she make that clear? That it not only raised yours, but it would actually help the neighborhood? I just wanted to clarify.
Yes, and she has a card attached to that. We should have all of her information on it, and I will give it to you. And she,
You have it, sir.
yeah, she explicitly told me that if anyone has any questions to that effect or any other, please give her a call. Yes, she stands by that. And someone had asked me if they had comped, I think Mrs. Frears had the question of property values. Would it hurt them? If it would affect property values, probably including her own was her consideration. These comps, like all comps done, are houses sold in that area for the last 365 days. So her house, I don't think was comped in that package, but if she was to put it up for sale, it would be on the next one. And I wouldn't do that till after I built this because it'd make hers worth more, so. And I don't think she's going anywhere at all. I don't want her to. She's been a great neighbor. So, with that being said, I hope that's the answer to that one.
And I have one more question.
Sure.
As I understand it, the neighbors that are on Seminole Drive to your east were in favor, I think from your testimony.
Yes,
They were in favor of that.
yes. There are only the two neighbors that are possibly against it or have an opposition to it for one reason or another. Yeah. Only one sent a letter. There were 5 letters of approval that came. You still have those? I know we don't have them up here tonight, but there was only one letter of opposition when I mailed the letters to everyone. We had 5 approval letters, and one came back opposed to it. Any more?
I do have a couple questions.
Okay.
On the video, the black area that's behind the garage, is that Holkey Road and approximate?
Yeah,
I know it's
kind
not
of,
all the-
yeah.
okay.
And I can answer through that drawing that I think you guys have. Things have changed on that too. And I'm referring to this drawing. The original offset was 2 feet from the property line, the way the figures turned out. And then we moved it, we reduced it 6 more feet, so that gives it a grand total of 8 feet further from the property line, not from the edge of the road. Roy, I know you took those measurements, but I don't remember what it was.
What I did is I went out there because my concern was the distance from Hokie Road to this, this shed, and I took some measurements.
To complete the answer to that question.
I'm not pro or con, I just wanted to know.
Yeah,
And then I have one more question after you.
well,
go ahead.
we also moved it 3 more feet, so 6, 8, 11, it's moved 11 feet closer,
Okay,
in essence, towards the house.
gotcha.
Where he's proposing it now is between 11 and 12 feet from the property line, which is approximately 26 feet from the edge of Hokie Road.
Okay.
And while we're on that, I also measured the house to the west, which is 18508 East 23rd Terrace South. I was curious how far it was from Hokie Road to that existing shed. Remember we talked about that last time? And it's 23 feet to the nearest 6 inches. From the south edge of Hokie Road from the south edge of Hokie Road to the fence, and about another 4 feet to the shed. And that shed is 16 feet wide. I didn't go on the property to see how deep it was, but it's 16 feet wide. So it looks like what he's proposing now is going to be about 26 feet from the road, which is kind of in between the 23 and the 27 feet from the fence to the existing shed. So it's more or less in line, but it won't be 16 feet wide, it'll be 24 feet wide. So he's about 11 to 12 feet from the property line, and very close to when there were some trees that we saw in one of those overheads, and the tree that's closest to the house, that is approximately where the edge of the shed is going to be. So it's farther away from Hokie Road than we realized the
Originally
last time.
attended. My second question, and this might be persnickety, but am I to understand that a member of the board came out and spoke to you outside of the meeting on your property?
Yes, I saw him taking measurements,
Okay.
and so I went out to ask him and
Okay.
talk to him.
I understand that we all get on to different boards and commissions and independents to express the spirit of neighborliness and to be helpful, but I would request that the minutes reflect that I find it inappropriate that a member of the board would go out and speak offline,
And then,
whether it was your intention or not. And
well, and it was,
And
because
again, I think it was all done in a spirit of neighborliness, which I think is a great thing.
in his
about independence.
defense, I have to stand here and tell you that I've been through 2 prior meetings to this. Most of you were online.
Sure.
You were here at the last one, and you realize what a fiasco this was and has been. And I have begged, even as far as Independence Council members, for each individual board member to please come out and look at the site. And any questions, ask me.
Sure. Yeah, I
And-
drive
and
by
he-
on
He's the
my,
one board member that did that. I appreciate that, Roy.
I drive by a few times a week to take my son to soccer at BVAC,
Yeah,
so
well,
I'm
you-
familiar.
And you may have
Sure.
drove by, but I just wanted
Yeah.
the people to see the actual area. And if
understand.
any of you did that, I appreciate that.
In my defense, I did not know whether he was home or not. I just went by there.
I
with
wasn't
tape,
when you got
And he
there.
came out, but we did not discuss anything that was inappropriate. I just
No.
took the measurements.
That makes sense. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. No, not a problem. Anybody else too. I mean, if that offended any board member, I apologize, but I did appreciate it because that's exactly, I wanted each and every one of you to come out. Really.
Are there any other questions for the applicant? Having here none, okay. You can have a seat.
Okay, I had a question for you guys on this. I was once told by one of you guys that I think it's even in the variance requests here. Something to the effect that I had 580 feet available, square feet, to build. That was the reason for the additional variance. And I was curious how they came by that number, because in that packet that I gave you, I have a picture of my house as it lays by dimensions, and I have the square footage of the house that it consumes on the property. And in essence, they show it, the finished area, which doesn't matter, 1,368 feet, but 53 feet long on the longest side and 43 feet on the longest side. If you multiply that out, it's 2,279 square feet. My lot states that it's 13,504 square feet. If you take the lot size minus the house, it is 11,225 square feet. If you take the remaining lot size, the 11,225 square feet, and multiply it times 15%, you should have available 1,683.75 feet, the way my math works. But in the variance, I'm allowed, even if I don't have the room per se, 600 feet, and I'm asking for an additional 120.
Those measurements are determined by staff.
Okay, well, I'm bringing this to their attention, that 50% of the 2,279 square feet of the house is 1,139 square feet. And in here, it says code requirements, section 104 indicates residential buildings in an R6 district shall be at least 35 foot back of the right-of-way of a collector street. That's where we applied for that first variance. And I wondered where that came from, because my plot plan shows 25 foot. So I questioned that, but I see where that came from. Now, in that same requirement, it says section 14-400-01C6, building coverage states in R districts, residential districts, detached accessory buildings may not cover more than 15% of the actual area of the rear yard, or an area exceeding 50% of the building coverage of the principal building, whichever is greater, provided that at least 600 square feet of accessory building coverage is allowed on any lot in any R district. And I'm not picking bones here or anything, but I'm just saying, I don't know where the figure came up that I only had 580 square feet available. I didn't know how that figure was determined, but you say staff comes up with that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the time and the efforts of this committee. Appreciate the meetings. This one seems to, everybody seeing here. I did have one question. I had a lot of people that were going to join this by video, but I gave.
We have two that are showing up on our thing here.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure if they're from this case or not. One of them is just caller one,
Okay.
and the other one's a Phil Thatcher.
Yeah, Phil is across the street neighbor. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this variance? I'm
sorry, Renee. Steal part of your thunder, I'm sorry. There was a guy that worked for the city. He worked there for 37 and a half years. He was a devoted employee. He was a good employee to the city, and he stayed with the city. And years ago, this guy put away 6 years of his life campaigning for a street and park tax. He was the president of the Glendale neighborhood. He built Glendale Park across from Drum Farm. He raised over $300,000 to put towards that park. His kids now call that Pawpaw's Park. I'm Pawpaw. I don't build hokey things. Thank you, sir.
closer to me. Okay, hi, I'm Renee Palika White. I live at 3416 South Marshall Court in Independence, but I now reside in Green Valley due to health reasons. And I was the 3rd District Council member from 2000 to 2008. I'm not going to take much of your time. I know it's a late evening. Thank you for your service on the board. I know this is a very important board and takes a lot of time, all volunteer, but it's important to the council. I just wanted to speak a little bit about Ron and Nikki Moretta. I've known them 38 years. This way? Okay. I've known them 38 years. They've been in Independence all their life. He retired and stayed in Independence. He retired from Independence Power and Light. I think it's very good when our own employees stay in the city as they retire. We need all that experience. I can tell you that Ron worked the ice storms when we all went through days without power, because I know he was out there in the field with me. He also did the parks at Glendale Gardens when all of our kids were going to Blue Springs, Lee Summit, North Kansas City, to go to a park. We didn't even have parks for them. And you know, after he raised that money and put together a little group, not even from the city, we had Easter egg hunts, Santa Claus came, they had other venues for the children to do, and I think that's very important to any community. I can tell you that we also have a memorial there for Jake Roble. I don't know how many of you remember that situation that was implemented by him. I appreciate your concerns for blight and that all the codes are being followed, because I know how important that is. But if I was just a citizen looking in with these credentials, I would say he's going to do everything he can to continue to make Independence a place where we all want to live, where we all have good revenue because of the tax base for the schools and the city. And I think he just wants to be a good neighbor too, and that is worth everything. So I do thank you for your time, and I hope you will consider approving this issue.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this variance?
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we do have, I believe, Mr. Thatcher on the screen here that has some comments. Is that correct? Mr. Thatcher, you there? Mr. Thatcher, you there? Are you there, Mr. Thatcher? Hello? He was there a minute ago. Caller 1, are you listening? I don't know what to say on this. Mr. Thatcher, you there? He was on the. Mr. Thatcher, are you there? Mr. Thatcher, if you're there, can you turn on your video? There we go. Okay, can you hear us? Okay, your mic is not on, apparently. Stand by, Mr. Thatcher. And he's to speak in favor, is that correct?
Well, he gave us 2 thumbs up.
It's communicating something.
I fixed power, I can't do any better.
Guess you could call in. Mr. Thatcher, if you have the phone number for this connection, can you call in?
Did you ask about his mute button on the sound?
Well, it shows that his microphone is on, according to our... Mr. Thatcher, can you verify that your microphone is on? Yes, he...
Possible that it's on our end.
I don't know, he's... Can you try it again, Mr. Thatcher? Okay, he's trying to call in. We can just assume that Mr. Thatcher is in favor of this. And he's still trying to call in.
Hello?
Okay, Mr. Thatcher, we hear you, but if you can turn off one of your other microphones, we're getting a feedback issue.
Yes, is that much better?
Yes, okay.
Hello? Hello?
I think we may have another caller calling in.
Oh, I've been on the call the whole time. This is the other neighbor.
Okay, well, why don't you go ahead, other neighbor, if that works out with the,
Well,
with the group.
Mr. Thatcher, you're on right now, so why don't you go ahead and we'll go back to her.
Okay, thank you. I live directly across the street from the Moretas, and I've known them for several years, and I do approve of them building the structure on their property, and I think it would benefit our neighborhood, and so I'm very much in favor.
What is his
questions?
address?
Mr. Thatcher,
My address is 2301
Oh.
Seminole.
He's right on the corner of Hokie Road and, okay.
That is correct.
Any other questions for this gentleman?
Yeah, Ron and I are the houses directly entering that subdivision.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I have one quick
Oh,
question.
wait a minute.
Would you say you are probably more affected than anyone, since his backyard is right across your front? Would you say you're perhaps more affected than anyone?
Yes, I would say I am. My front door faces his house, and so I will be looking at his building. So I'm still in very much favor of him building the structure, and I will be very pleased with his work.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
We
Thank you.
appreciate it. Okay, you said there's another caller, Stuart?
I think it's caller 1. Yeah, caller 1.
Hello?
Are you there? Could you give us your name and address, please?
Carissa Faulkner, and I am 2305, right next to Thatcher.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, I was just calling to let you know I was in favor as well.
Could you speak up a little clearer, please?
Can you hear me? I'm hearing an echo, so I'm not for sure if you can hear me loud enough.
Okay, it's better now. Thank you.
Okay, I was just saying I was in favor.
Mr. Thatcher, could you make sure you have everything turned off on your microphone side? Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, now I can hear myself because I couldn't hear nothing but squeaking. Okay, I was just saying I was in favor. I don't have a problem with it. And like I said, they've been great neighbors to me since I've been there, the 15 years I've been there.
Any questions for this caller? Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thanks for the call, ma'am.
All right.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in favor of? Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to? If you could give us your name and address, please.
Yeah, I appreciate you allowing me to visit with you tonight. My name's Dr. Renee Frears. I live at 18509 East 23rd Terrace South. I'll start with a story. There was a lady who was born and raised in Independence, was educated in Independence, and then served her community as an educator in Independence for years. She retired from the Independence, or from education, and has maintained her residence in Independence. And she's here this evening to protect her property value and her home. My concern, as mentioned earlier, has been property value of the homes in the neighborhood. Certainly, Mr. Moreta is interested in his property value, and I appreciate that, as I am interested in my own. So I brought for you tonight a letter from from a real estate agent that states that the property value for him will go up. The property value for the other neighbors will not go up. Thank you. She'll pass out that letter. And as you're looking at it, you'll notice that I didn't number them for you, but when you look about 2/3 of the way down, you'll see where it talks about the impact to exclusive neighborhoods is that it'll deter buyers, potential buyers that desire an active homeowners association and that ensures the exterior of all homes are in good condition, paint, landscaping. Businesses are not being run out of the property, and cars or in garages or driveways are in good working condition. For potential buyers to see a large detached metal building at the entry would be a flag that rules are not being followed and their property values would not be protected. She goes on to reference Milton Estates, which I think earlier I heard someone lived there, is a neighborhood who has enforced its rules and therefore maintained its subdivision's property value. So my first and foremost concern is, of course, with my investment. Many of us here today can probably say that our largest investments are home, and that is certainly true for me. Knowing and feeling quite certain that it would reduce the property value of my home. I've lived there since 1999. I believe I'm the longest standing resident in the neighborhood, and it will create an eyesore. I'm also concerned that it goes against the Declaration of Covenant on both page 9 and 10 when it talks about no structure, where it mentions a garage or other outbuildings, shall be added at any time of the residence, either temporary or permanent. It goes on page 10 to talk about roofing material, and that the roofing material should be made of either shingle or asphalt roofing. I think we have a metal roof going up. And then section 8, that no commercial activity of any kind shall be conducted. In speaking several times with my neighbor, I know that he had said that he's no longer interested in getting a pontoon boat because he's had to reduce it. So I must say I have a concern that there might be a potential business run out of this. They are currently ordering and assembling small quad runners, which they test drive on the road, and then selling them from the home. So the intention of this building potentially becoming some type of a business is a concern for the neighborhood. It is a residential neighborhood. It is not in any way coded for business properties. I'm also concerned that it's not going to match the home. You saw several garages that are already constructed in our neighborhood. I'm not quite certain what steps they went through, but I've been around to all those garages myself, taking pictures, and you saw them earlier. All of their roofs are shingle. Their sides are constructed of the same building materials as the home. They are not metal garages. They are they are buildings that are constructed and look just like the home. Not the same color as the home, but made of the same building materials as the home. I am also a little concerned that in the Independent Strategic Plan, it does include the beautification piece, and I'm so glad we brought that up this evening. This is not going to beautify. A metal building at the entryway of the home to this entire neighborhood is in no way, shape, or form a beautification. Having served the school and our public here in Independence for years, I know that property value is important. It's not only important to our neighborhoods, but quite frankly, it's very important to our schools. And whenever we make decisions that impede or decrease the property value in our community, that has a ripple effect on a number of different things in our community. I would certainly hope that the committee keeps that in mind when making a decision about this proposal. Mr. Brown, I'm as a resident, I must admit, I'm disappointed that when you were approached by the applicant, you did not inform him in a polite way that you could not have conversations with him about this outside of these public meetings, because I'm sure he's a very reasonable man. He would have been able to understand why it was inappropriate for you to have those conversations with him. I appeal to this board that we make a decision that's based on the entire neighborhood, not one person's wishes or desires. We have certainly, all of us, spent quite a bit of time on this topic, and nobody's going to get anything out of this but Mr. Moreta. So I appreciate the time you've given to it and allowing me to speak this evening. I also just have one question for the board, and certainly I'll take any of your questions. So I'll let you go first. Do you have any questions of me as a neighbor opposed to this garage?
I have a question. So I want to make sure I understand your primary objection is the dissimilar use of materials between the proposed garage and his house would be one, and another one was you're concerned about the possibility that he may be doing some commercial activity in that building, and then you're concerned that it's going to in some way detract from your property value because of those things. Am I summarizing that fairly accurately?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I had a question for the board. If you were to approve this garage, what guarantees are there that the building materials and the size and those things that you approved tonight, if you were to do so, are actually met? How is that checked? And what are the consequences or the opportunities of those around this home if those guarantees are not met?
If this was to be approved this evening, the follow-up would fall upon staff as far as making sure everything was done to what was agreed upon. Am I correct, Stuart?
Yeah, this is part of a building permit process. The building design and layout and location on the lot are all approved as part of the permit process. So if the board decided to grant a variance with something different than what was his request, then we would look at that and have to add that into the review process to make sure that he met the board's requirements. And as far as again, I just want to remind the board that the board has no responsibility, or the city cannot enforce any private covenants or restrictions that this subdivision may have. So don't take that into consideration.
So even though it does not, may I ask a question? So even though this building does not meet the covenants and restrictions that are laid out, that is
That's up to the subdivision homeowners association to sue and pursue that angle. The city council did not approve those covenants and restrictions, and the city cannot enforce them.
Okay, so that becomes something that we as residents would
That's right.
then sue and pursue. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you for
Our
clarifying.
purview is based on building codes
Okay,
adopted by the city council.
okay, thank you. This is my first experience with anything like this, so I'm learning a little this evening, so, all right, well, thank you very much for your time.
Okay,
Completely
thank you.
opposed.
Is there anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? Please come forward and state your name and your address, please.
I'm Diana Roberts. I'm at 18508 East 23rd Street Terrace South. I'm the home directly west of where this is proposed build is at. My husband and I have been born and raised here in Independence. I've had a business in this town for 40 years. I'm an enrolled agent before the Internal Revenue Service. Obviously, we have our roots here. Our family's roots are here. And like everyone else, our biggest asset is our home and our neighborhood. And that's why we like to try and preserve that as much as we can. I was originally the person who called and asked to remain anonymous because of things that definitely have happened since then. I found that not only did I remain anonymous like I requested, but other neighbors requested that, and that's not happened for them either. I don't know how that can be addressed, but at this point, it kind of is what it is. We've actually got one neighbor who's been approached 5 times by Ron, and her answer to him every time is, I don't want to talk to you about this, and yet he continues to come back. That's a real concern. We originally received the owner notification in our mailbox. My concern about that was it did not go through the mail service. It was handwritten, had a stamp on it, and then it was placed by them in our mailboxes. And so that kind of concerns me that the original notification did not even follow the correct procedure for this to go on from there. Yes, please. I've also got a letter that I had written that actually Ron had talked to Dr. Frears after the last meeting, found out that she didn't approve and could not be swayed to change how she felt about this project, and that night her yard was farmed.
I'm sorry, was what?
Was farmed, where it's been driven through and there's mud going through it. Not saying that I know who did it, it's just that the timing was awfully suspicious. We, like everyone else, is concerned about the decrease in the values. I don't think that a metal garage is anything that is appropriate in that neighborhood. It's not something that's going to improve or provide any beautification for the neighborhood or for the city of Independence. And actually where he plans on putting it, when the western setting sun hits that metal building, it reflects that sun directly back into our living room and our kitchen, which then we can't even have our shades open to enjoy our the trees that we've got there in between our property, because at that point we've got that western sun reflecting in there and we've got to actually close all of our window shades at that point. Also, my husband and I normally sit on our back porch on our deck every evening. When we do that, we can see up and down both directions of Holkey Road, both east and west. With this building there, we're not going to be able to see that, and we're real concerned about the safety issues of people pulling up to that stop sign from Seminole, looking east and west to see if there's oncoming traffic, and having a visual impedance where they can't see. Currently, they have planted trees in the easement there, and it makes it very hard to see around those trees to make sure that you're safe to pull out. And unfortunately, since a lot of the speed limits through there are not enforced, it's not at all unusual all hours of the days and night to hear cars and motorcycles racing up and down there, because they just come up to a 3-way stop sign there once they hit Speck Road. His lot's not the correct size for the garage that he wants there. That's why he's having to ask for the variances. He initially came to all the neighbors and said, we want to buy a pontoon boat because of our grandkids, which that was fine, but at the time we also thought that he meant that it would be built on the existing concrete pad and perhaps he would only have to extend it a few feet. Once we saw that the surveys went up and where the stakes were, we realized that was not the case at all. And that's a real concern of ours also. He's also informed us since then that they're not going to be purchasing the pontoon boat at all, and if that's the case, then why do they need the garage? They're saying that that's the main reason for this garage is for that. We've got other neighbors in the neighborhood who have got RVs, they've got boats, and they all pay to store them elsewhere. They're not sitting on concrete pads by their home. They haven't built additional garages in order to store those. I told him it seemed like a reasonable option for the neighbors. Maybe it was a reasonable option for him. And his answer was he just didn't think so. That would be cost prohibitive. So he had talked about them having garages and sheds built in the neighborhood that would match, and that would be great, except his is not even close to matching the color. The roofing material is going to be a metal roof, and that's against the covenants and restrictions that's been brought up also. So due to these items, I'd like to thank you for your time this evening and ask you if you've got any questions for me.
Any questions for this speaker?
I guess I have a couple. Sorry, did I understand you are 18508?
Yes.
Okay. And this picture that we have looks like there's quite a few trees.
Well, there used to be a lot more, but he took out about half of them one Saturday.
Oh, so this is not quite exactly what it looks like now?
It's not got nearly that many trees left now.
Okay.
We originally, he talks about the weeds that are behind our house. What happened when we purchased the property, it was completely treed to Holkey Road. And the city came in and took all that out when they did the widening of Holkey Road. And consequently, they put down grass netting, which is before it was a very slight slope to the road. When they did this, they put a very steep angle, and even Ron himself has said, that's just too steep to be mowed. I don't know what else we can do. I don't know what to do to remedy that. I wish the city had an answer.
Okay. And I guess my other question is, did you address the issue, I haven't had a chance to read this whole thing, about the anonymity?
Yes,
issue?
it's the very first bullet.
Okay.
Actually, it's above that. No, I moved this around a little. Let me take a look. Yeah, the very first paragraph, we asked to remain anonymous in this process.
But have you found out how you were not? I mean, I don't know how that happens. I assume what you mean is you lodged a complaint online? And
I
marked
actually called
anonymous?
and talked.
Oh, okay.
And I asked initially, before the first meeting ever happened, to remain anonymous in this process. We've also have other neighbors who have requested that. That's not happened with them either.
Okay.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. When you look out your window to the east, can you see that existing shed that he has?
Yes.
Does the sun reflect off of that?
It reflects off of the cars that he parks there, and then I have to go close my windows because of the light and the sunlight reflecting back into our house through our windows. We've got 3 windows there on that side of the house. There are only windows on that side of the house, but they look out into the tree line. And yes, the sun does reflect back in, and we've got to go close our window shades from that.
Okay, so your view, you can see that existing shed, and then as you're looking towards that shed to your left, as I recall, isn't there a big clump of trees? So that if you look from his shed, if you're looking a little bit more to the left, more to the northeast, can you see through that clump of trees?
In certain areas, yes.
Okay. But would you say that clump of trees is
The
aren't they-
largest part of that clump of trees are to the far end, the far northern end of our fence, and that's where the large black walnut trees are. But the other trees that are in between are just kind of little scrub trees that have grown up, and they're at all different heights and levels, if that makes sense.
So when you're looking out your window and you look and you see his shed, if you were to go just a few degrees counterclockwise, are you looking at trees? Aren't you looking at trees at that point?
To
Big
some
trunks?
degree, yes.
Okay.
But there's still the reflection coming through also,
Okay,
because these other trees are all shorter and taller heights.
okay. But those trees are fairly, wouldn't you say those trees are at least 10 inches in diameter? That, just to the left of your view of his shed? That clump.
The
there's-
ones that are at the far end, yes, but the ones in between, there's a lot that are not that big
Okay.
anymore. That tree line was originally twice that width, and he came in on a Saturday morning and removed half of them
Okay,
without asking us or talking about it.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Caller 2, would you turn off your microphone, please?
He's really ticking me off.
Any other questions for the speaker? Sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition? I know the caller has nothing to do. Okay.
And then this.
Okay.
And
Now
black gal is
The applicant is offered a point of rebuttal. Come up and
name, and I said, I was just
name and address again.
Mr. Thatcher, your phone is still on. Can you turn the volume off, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. That was him. He asked if you
Okay.
could hear me.
Yes, what was the question?
Is this Mr. Thatcher?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm just asking if you would turn your microphone off.
Oh, yes, I will. I will. Thank you.
Okay.
Ron Moretta, 2300 South Seminole. I'll start and go in reverse. In referring to this picture and removing of some of these trees, I removed none of these trees. The only trees that have been removed from here have fallen. The ones that fell in my yard, I threw back in there. I side cleared straight up because they overhung into the area of that yard that I was taking care of, and I couldn't hardly get a mower through it, and it was killing my grass. They were so dense and thick, and still are. I would like to do it again, but I know not to go ask. Secondly, those trees are just as thick as they look. And as far as seeing out from under there, the horseweeds that are taken up in there are 8 and 10 foot tall when they're mature. You don't have a sight through there. Okay. 3 others in the neighborhood have garages like mine, and 2 of them take up more property, excess property, than what I'm talking about doing. And as far as what her husband had told me was that he would like to just bring that thing right up next to the house and butt it up to that pad and let him sign off on it. That would create problems with everybody, the city included. They will not allow that. I have to allow for that easement. And that would impede their site even more. By setting it 23 feet away from where I have it, you know, at 23 feet away from the house, it actually opens a line of sight through them up that hill for the only possible hole out there they could really see through. Those trees that she's talking about that the city removed are at the very end of this. Nobody's removed anything. And nobody's trimmed that area. I used to cut it down to the ground, the little saplings and the young trees. Nobody's touched it for the last 3 or 4 years since our dispute over me clearing up the side so I could save my grass, which I thought was my grass, and I found out it was him. As far as the first complaints, it's not a metal building. It's a wood frame constructed building on a concrete slab by permit through the city, inspected by the city. It has steel siding. We don't want to condemn all the houses and properties and garages and things in this city that have metal siding. It's not a metal building. Milton Estates and covenants, restrictions, whatever. Milton Estates also required wood shakes on their property. They don't anymore. It's against the fire code. Some things changed. Covenants and restrictions, there are none in our area. If there were, they had to be recorded at the recorder of deeds. They are not. These covenants and restrictions, if they were part of the old neighborhood, are cease and desist. They no longer exist. And lastly, the committee's job is to make sure that I comply with all the criteria, and I have done this. And I have bent over backwards to do this. And I have more neighbors that probably gave up on this tonight that were going to come not in opposition, in support of this. So with that being said, I'll let you ponder those answers or rebuttals. But a lot of what was brought here, more like idle gossip. And part of this committee is what matters, the truth, what matters. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Roy, go ahead.
Are you willing to put wood siding on your building instead of metal siding to match your house?
that doesn't match my house. My house is vinyl siding. I'm siding it. I thought, this thing comes, I can buy it in a complete package, so I have to order it as such. I have to order the colors and everything.
Yeah, you can't hear you very well.
This thing comes in a complete package, I have to order it. That is possibly an option, but it is an astronomical expense on my part. You know what lumber has done in the past,
Yeah.
and wood siding versus the metal siding would be astronomically expensive. I think those sheets now are close to $60 a sheet, aren't they? And they used to be 20-something. If I may, there's a guy back here that's done quite a bit of building. How much does that stuff up to? $60. And what were they? 20, 30? Okay, I rest my case there. I'm sorry. No, I'm not willing to do that. I'm sorry, Roy. No. I can't afford it. I'm putting $30,000 or $40,000 into this building as it is. You would probably run my price up 24 feet, 4, 6, 6, 12, 30. Would be 7, 8, 8, 16. 28 sheets times $60. That's what you're asking.
Mr. Morita, could I ask also, is siding it with the same vinyl siding as your house an option?
It would be, again, I'm gonna have to put a sheet decking underneath it to do it. So again, the price gets astronomical. We're probably looking closer to 50 now.
Yeah, the board really can't consider cost in a situation like
And
this.
honestly, not to be smart or anything, but this is something I have to comply with through permitting. Is that not true?
We have codes in place on this.
Yes, and I am complying not only with the committee's requests for the variance committee, but when I apply for my permit, I will also have to accommodate all those restrictions. This is just the start of the process for me. I haven't even got to where I can pull a permit, because I cannot pull a permit on a building I can't build. And that's why I come before you guys and gals.
Would you be willing to, agree that after a certain period of time, you'd be willing to cover your metal siding with horizontal matching vinyl siding?
Absolutely, yes, absolutely.
Would you give us a period of time, within 2 years, for example, within 2 years of your having finished the shed, that you might be willing to cover matching siding to your house?
Are you locking me into doing that?
I'm
or-
just asking if that's something you'd be willing to do so that we can try to,
I would strongly consider it, yeah, because at this time, you know, that siding will be vertical and the siding on a house is horizontal. But why that makes a difference, I have no idea, because there's many houses in the neighborhood that have vertical and horizontal on the same building.
well, we're citizens.
I know.
And so we're trying to listen to those in opposition, and I was just asking you if that might be a possibility that you would.
If the price becomes reasonable, yes, I would much rather have it completely match the house than just color-wise. But the roof color matches the eaves and the guttering exactly.
So
And
are
the
you
siding-
using wooden girts on your building, or are you framing it with studs on the side? In other words, could you cover that with OSB and then put your siding over it, or are you covering it with metal because you have some horizontals that are
Yeah,
spaced?
which are code compliant, yes. And in order to put the OSB, I would have to put those sheets over that.
Yeah, well, I'm just asking, you have vertical girts on your?
Yeah.
Okay, and they're how far apart? Like maybe 4 or 5 feet?
That's going to be in the plans for my builder. I
Okay.
can't answer. I'm going to assume,
Okay,
you
so
know,
in other
minimum
words,
2 foot.
whatever you do, you have the ability to cover that
Mm-hmm.
vertical metal siding with horizontal siding in the future. You have that.
Yeah, I would have that option, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
Any other questions? No? Thank you, sir. Okay. Well, what we as a board are tasked with in this particular,
Excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, you might want to close the public hearing.
yeah, we can close the public hearing now. But what we as a board are tasked with is setback variance, am I correct?
Setback and building size.
Okay. Yeah, percentage. So, that's all we can really deal with. It's beyond our purview to worry about siding and roofing, and, that all is dealt with by staff when they issue the permit, if we approve the variances, right? Okay. So,
The objections did not involve those two variances.
right, and if there is an HOA, and there's, it's in violation of covenants, then that's a legal matter beyond our ability to deal with. So, because there's no way we could know every HOA set of rules in this city. It's too big of a city. So that wouldn't be feasible for us. What do you guys think on this? Thoughts, opinions? I mean, if we go through the review of criteria, it appears that he has met everything. All six, as far as I'm seeing, unless I missed something.
Well, my biggest concern involved the distance to the Hokie Road, in contrast to the 18508 East 23rd Terrace South, and they were within a foot. So that took care of that concern I had, which is a direct neighbor to the west. And then the size, the width of that shed to the west is 16 feet, and his proposed width is 8 feet more than that. So, and it is as far to the west, the applicant has put his garage as far to the west as he can, leaving quite a bit of yard to the east. So as far as the setback's concerned, I don't have major problems with those personally.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, while I understand the concerns in opposition to the garage, and I have my own in my own neighborhood that I drive by every day as well, I do note that in the new city report that all 6 conditions for both variances are met as well.
Anybody else? Anything else to add to this, or opinions, thoughts? No? Okay. Well, since nobody else has anything to say on this, I guess we'll take this to a vote.
Well, we need a motion and a second first.
Need a motion. A second, if we can get that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we approve case number 21-999-05 as presented.
Thank you, Jack. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay. Sarah Willoughby.
You mean Wimberley?
Sorry about that. Somebody wrote this in, and it was not very well written.
Sorry.
That and my eyes are not the best either, so, okay. Sarah Wimberly,
I'm gonna abstain.
okay. Roy Brown,
Yes.
Jack Lehman,
Yes.
Aaron Crosley,
Yes.
and I will vote yes as well. Good luck to you, and hopefully you and your neighbors can work this out to where it's a win-win. That would be ideal. This has passed. Yeah, I think we probably ought to.
Take 5 minutes, come back at 8,
5 minutes.
or 5 after 8?
Yeah, that'd be good. Okay.
Yes, this is application, this variance is for a variance from the section that prohibits that vacant lots, vacant commercial lots, industrial lots cannot be fenced. Danner Outdoor Solutions seeks to remove an existing dilapidated fence surrounding this vacant lot and replace it with a new 8-foot privacy fence. Okay, this shows the location of the property. It is directly across from the road that goes down into the underground area. This is the actual circle that shows the actual site. If you've been up down 291 Highway, East Independence Avenue goes into the underground areas, and then directly across from that is Independence Avenue. At one time was going to continue west from there, but the area is somewhat significantly undermined. It was determined that they couldn't put a road through there, so it just kind of petered out right there. And the site, as you can see from that, where the little blue dot is there, there's kind of a brown rectangle. That was the location of a tow lot that was issued a special use permit over 15 years ago. A provision of that special use permit was the area being closed within a 6-foot fence. Okay, and this is the applicant's a drawing that shows where he seeks to put the wood fence. The existing part of the back is a chain link fence. It's already in place and will remain. Again, it shows the yellow line shows the location of the new fence, and then the X's show the trees that will be planted on the site. Okay, here we're on the excuse me, on the east side of M291 Highway, looking to the northwest slightly. You can see the fence line there. It's got some missing slats, broken, that sort of thing. It's got the realtor sign stuck to part of it. Okay, here we're on the west side of 291 and sort of the Independence Avenue right away. You can, again, the gate to the tow lot was there on the left. The road kind of goes up to that, and there was a gate there. It still is there more or less. And you can see down how close this is to 291. Where the fence line is the edge of their property and the beginning of the right-of-way. This, again, looking to the north down or north up 291 Highway, you can see where the fence runs along, goes down there and kind of distant stops at that distant set of trees there. Here we're on the Independence on the west side of 291. Looking back, you can see this is the Space Center sign there and the nice road that leads down into there, and they have a vacant area off to the right there that they maintain. Here we're looking to the west from the Space Center from the east side of the street. The road, the Independence Avenue part that you see is on the right side of the screen, a little piece of the right-of-way there. And you have a driveway that leads up to some commercial areas to the south and southwest. This is another one that shows one of the commercial areas there. I think at one time there was they sold small accessory buildings that you could haul off and put on your property. Since then, there's been a car lot, auto repair place there. I think that is still there, may be closing up soon. I'm not really sure about that. So the variance deals with the fencing of a vacant lot. And the applicant is here to answer questions.
Hey, can you hear me okay? Better? My name is Zach Danner. I'm the owner of Danner Outdoor Solutions. I live actually in Platte County, so I do not live in Independence, but looking to purchase this property. To be honest, I had about a 3-hour presentation, but since we learned about a garage for an hour and a half, I'm just going to cut to the point.
It must be an impressive fence.
It's going to be impressive. There's a 6-foot fence on the property currently. I think it's been there since 2004. I'm looking to purchase the property to use it for landscaping material storage. I'm not doing retail out of it. I just want to tear down the fence that's there. It's crappy, it's dilapidated, it's not worth rebuilding, and put an 8-foot fence back. It'll be professional grade, completely professional grade business that I run out of it. I just need 8 feet tall so I can stack materials taller out of view. Pretty straightforward. I'm not going to change the footprint of it other than get it up to code with landscaping and those types of things. That's really about it. I'm happy to answer questions.
Any questions for this gentleman? Do you do fence work?
I do not, no.
You do not? I didn't know for sure. I was gonna say, if you're a fence man, you definitely do not want a crappy looking fence around your property.
I do sell landscaping, so I do have to, but I run a completely professional shop.
Basically, we get to get rid of the ugly eyesore fence, and you're gonna put in a nice one.
I'm going to make it worse for you. If you tell me I cannot put in an 8-foot fence, I'm not going to buy the property and you will maintain the eyesore.
Now, that's between you and, what's good for your business, whether you buy something or not, but, we don't have to look at the eyesore if you buy the place.
Correct. Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
Anything else for him?
How tall is the current fence?
6 foot.
Okay.
I just want to raise it to 8.
Any other questions? Hearing anything?
One thing I would like to know is, it says a vacant lot, is this vacant?
No, sir, it is not vacant. It has about 100 dilapidated tires on it, an old boat, a car, and a bunch of trash. But other than that, that would be it.
But after this, it's not gonna be vacant, is it?
There will be no structures on it. It's only going to be a storage site. So predominantly use railroad ties and other landscaping materials that I sell.
Anything else? No? Thank you for your presentation.
No, thank you.
Stand by. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this variance request? We have no callers? We didn't get any calls on this case. Since there's no takers on that one, is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this variance request?
You do, I'm going up from here.
Well, I guess we can close the public hearing, because you don't have to rebut anything, because nothing was said, so.
That was very thorough.
All right, public hearing's closed.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend approval of case number 21-999-08 as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second. So we can take a vote on this. All right. Sarah Wimberly,
Yes.
Roy Brown,
Yes.
Aaron Crosby,
Yes.
Jack Lehman,
Yes.
and I vote yes as well. Variance passed. Good luck to you, sir.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Is your dad a millwright? Dan Danner?
No, he is not. No,
Okay.
he's a welder.
On to our next case here. Case number 21-999-09. Matt McCollum at 3416 South Chrysler Avenue. We got a movie on this one, or video.
Mr. Chairman, your microphone is off.
Okay.
Is it? Okay. Okay. This is an application by Matt McCollum for a request to put up fencing in the front of his property from the front of the house to the front street that exceeds 3 feet in height. This location, this vicinity map shows the location of the property. It's on the northwest corner of 35th Street and South Chrysler. Here's the vicinity map, or the aerial photograph, so to speak. Again, it shows on the northwest corner of this intersection. It's pretty much residential property all the way around, single-family homes. And this is the applicant's drawing that he submitted. And the line with the circles in it are the 6-foot wrought iron fence that he seeks to install. Chrysler's on the right side, and 35th Street is on the bottom of the screen where the house, from the house. And then the wood privacy fence that he can put, that's even with his house, that goes west from the, along the south property line, is fine. That's not part of the application. That's not considered in his front yard. But the, where it shows the wrought iron fence with the gate on the northern end is the part of the variance request. This is the front of his house. It faces east, which is Chrysler. That's his driveway there on the right. Basically, the fence line would run from the northeast corner of the site, which is just slightly off the right side of the slide, down, excuse me, and behind the sidewalk, down to the south, and eventually in where that stone column is, and then it would proceed to the west a certain distance. This is, again, they're standing on the sidewalk basically where the fence, approximately where the fence would start before it runs south. The gate would be here where the driveway entrance is, and run south up to the intersection before turning right or west. And here we're looking, we're at the southeast corner of the site, looking to the north against the wrought iron fence would be a couple feet behind the sidewalk there, and run all the way down to just on the other side of the driveway. And here we're looking down, we're looking up Chrysler at the houses that are up and down the street there. Okay, this house is directly across from the applicant's property. This fence was put up there a number of years ago. I went out and measured the fence, and it's the tallest picket that you see there, because the pickets are kind of up and down. It's 47 inches above grade, and the top support bar is 40 inches above grade. Now, I went around to the the south side of the property. The fence here is on a grade, on a slope, so you really can't get a good dimension on it. So I went around to the south side of the property where it's all on pretty level terrain, and I could get a more accurate measurement. So that's directly across from the applicant site. This is on the southeast corner of that intersection. This is on the southwest corner of that intersection. And I can go through those and show any of those you'd like to see again. Any questions?
Any questions?
Were there any calls?
No, there was not.
Anybody else? Questions on this? Okay. Okay. I guess we can hear from the applicant now.
Hello.
Hello. Give us your name and your address, please.
My name is Matt McCollum, and the address is 3416 South Chrysler Avenue.
Okay.
I'm requesting to install the 6-foot fence because the intersection where the lot is located is extremely busy. It's probably the busiest residential intersection on Chrysler, and probably the most dangerous. There's been multiple incidences happen there, including a police chase that went through my yard, starting at the driveway that you saw where the red truck is, and going, cutting across, going west, taking that whole corner off, and missing my bedroom window by approximately 2 to 3 feet. Narrowly missing a bench that I would be sitting on, or my son would be sitting on. It was early morning when I should have been walking my dog. People speed up and down the street, extreme measures. Very few people actually follow the 35 mile per hour speed limit there. It's very dangerous. There was a car coming across the intersection the other day that actually got airborne. People try to get through the light as quick as possible. He actually got airborne. If he would have been angled a different direction, he possibly could have come in my yard. If it's a 3-foot fence, he probably would have gone over the 3-foot fence. He was that high. He came down. My neighbor was backing out. My neighbor to the west, he was backing out, almost hit him. He backed in, luckily, before he hit him. There was another wreck just after I moved in, I think it was 2018, where a truck was at a high rate of speed coming through that intersection at night, and he was probably doing 90 or 100 miles an hour. And he was right in front of my house and started to lose control, and then went off 2 doors down and ran into a tree. He was up inside the tree at an angle. I don't think either passenger lived through that. There's just so many different instances. I don't even let my 17-year-old son go out and mow the lawn. I feel it's that dangerous in this intersection. And I think my lot is the only one that you can actually go through. There's no brick wall. There's no barrier of any sort there to prevent that, like my neighbors that we saw earlier across the street. There's no way they can cut through there. The other 2 lots, they have brick walls and they're elevated. I'm kind of down, settled down a little bit. I also have a driveway that circles around the entire house that connects 35th to Chrysler, and people have used that as a shortcut to cut off the light, and they don't slow down. They'll just come in and whip around real fast. And that's, we could be back there, there's a garage back there, we could be coming out of the garage and get hit. And that, I have no backyard as far as grass. In fact, most of the 90% of my lot that's grass is the front yard. I have a very little side yard where the privacy fence would be. That's pretty much, in a generalization, what I'm trying to achieve for safety's sake, and to let my dog be able to go outside without having to worry about him jumping over a 3-foot fence and getting hit by a car. So, if you have any questions.
Any questions from the presenter?
Are you hoping that this fence will be a barrier?
A barrier and a deterrent first, and a barrier, because a 3-foot, I measured it, and just up to my car, it's hard to see a 3-foot fence if you're driving, and the fence, and my property is right on the street there. And even if you're in a big truck, and there's lots of big trucks that come up and down there, there's no way they would see that fence to be a deterrent. I think if I had a 6-foot fence, the person that was being chased through my yard probably would have saw the fence and not gone that direction.
I think that it'd be difficult for you to come up with a fence that would actually be a barrier that would
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm trying to do what I can to prevent that, and a 6 foot would be much more of a deterrent than a 3 foot would, and plus my dog wouldn't be able to jump a 6 foot as well. And I'm just trying to match. I didn't measure the fence across the street, but I'm just trying to match pretty much what they have. And there's several other homes up and down Chrysler that have those type of fences that are about that same height.
You've got quite a bit of fencing.
Yeah. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, fences tend not to stop vehicles. I know. I used to make a lot of money repairing fences that have been driven through.
Right.
And then, now, as far as a 3 foot fence, I never saw the point, because it's something you can walk over. And,
Right.
well, I've had dogs that could just walk right over, basically.
Right.
36-inch fences.
Yes.
You know, 6 foot, well, you know, do you really need a 6 foot fence? I mean, that's the thing. Because I think what's across from you, the two properties on the east side of Chrysler, on the north side of 35th Street, I believe the two properties there both have like a 40, did you say it was 47 and a half or 48 inch
Well, the,
ornamental
yeah,
alloy?
the way that the pickets are set up, they have a high one and a low one and a high one like
Right.
that. And the what I could figure above grade, it was 47, and it could have been 48.
Right,
Now, from the crossbar, the top crossbar was 40 inches.
okay. Would there be any way a 48 inch would work?
So
I
that's-
don't know
that's-
you know, what kind of dog you have.
It's a German Shepherd. It's a pretty
Oh,
big.
well, it'll jump a 6 foot fence. I've had
I
that
doubt he
happen
would do
before,
that. I
too.
can't see him doing a 6 foot, but
Yeah, I've had that happen.
I mean, I think I would be able to do the size of fence that my neighbor has across the street. I think that size of a fence would work for this purpose.
Would you repeat that in the microphone a little bit?
Yes, I would be able to match the height of the neighbor's fence across the street. I would be happy to do that, I believe. I've seen people try to get over that fence, and it's not easy.
Right.
There was a deer that got stuck, and somebody was trying to get it off, and they almost got impaled on it. So I'm like, it's not easy.
But your wood fences will continue to be 6 feet, the privacy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he's not needing a variance for that anyway. Just what's in front. Okay, anything else for the presenter? No? Okay. If you could sit down and hang out for just a little bit.
Sure. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this variance request? Oh, okay.
I don't know him or anything about fences, but I'm all for saving dogs' lives, so I'm for it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You were just bold. It's getting late. We're gonna have some comment.
Anybody else? And did you ask if we got any calls on this? I did. And we did not, is that correct?
No, we did not. And we also have no callers on
Okay.
this
And we didn't get
application.
any letters or any responses
No.
on this? Okay. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition? No? Okay. Well, then I guess we can close the public hearing on this. Try to figure something out. Okay. There was no line of sight issue, am I correct on that? I didn't remember seeing anything.
Well, there's a little, I'm not sure when I was out there, and I have to ask the applicant to respond on this.
Is it the control box?
Well, no, there's a There's an actual stone monument with the two little wrought iron sections that stick out from that.
Yes,
And I'm not sure if that's on
that's
his
Manor
property
Oaks that did that, I
or,
believe.
what was that?
Manor Oaks, that subdivision, I believe
Could
they
be.
did that years ago.
That would be it. Generally, we don't have calls about, sight distance issues with wrought iron fences.
Right, I didn't think there would be, but you never know.
If there is, doesn't staff then, when he's applying for the permit, have him cut across at a 45 or whatever? That's not really.
Well, there's actually not a permit required for residential fences that are 6 feet and less in height. We do have everybody call dig right and all that sort of thing. Now, if it did put it up and we did get calls about it being a sight distance issue, somebody from Public Works should go out and take a look at it because the sight triangle issue is something that they deal with. So it's possible, probably not, but he could have to adjust it if there was a sight distance issue there.
I would think because there's a stoplight there, it's probably not really an issue that much. Okay.
Well, I believe there's a signal box controller box right there.
I'm
If I
not sure if it's on
remember
the northwest or southwest. I'm sure the applicant probably could.
Have you got one of those ugly signal box controllers in your yard right there by the stone and wrought iron?
Okay.
Okay.
Well, my feeling is he wants to match the fence on the other side and even go a few inches higher. That it seems like it'd be reasonable. I mean, 6 feet seems a little high, but even 4.5, 5 feet doesn't seem that difficult.
48 on that, if it's an alloy, the ornamental alloy fence, 48, I think, is considered a standard height, 60 and 72. Now, they do have shorter ones, but it's kind of a rarity and an oddity that, unlike, now I've seen those installed on like stone walls, or brick walls where it puts like the 36 inch. But a 48 would be a standard size, unless of course he's doing something custom.
Is 60 a standard size as well?
Yes, I think, yes, 60 is and 72.
I mean, he wanted a 6, and I'm, personally, I think that, give him up to 5 if he wants to go 4 or 5, that, my way of thinking, it would be fine.
Well,
help with the
it'd be
dogs.
within keeping of the neighborhood if you went with the same height that's already existing and right across the street from it.
Yeah.
So, which would be probably classified as a 48 inch.
Well, since the one across the street from him is up on a slope, it appears to be, it could be taller anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, the grade right there from the sidewalk up to where that fence is rises a fair amount in certain parts of that yard at least.
So elevation-wise, the house, the property on the east side of Chrysler is higher than his property.
It does rise from the sidewalk
So,
as you go east.
it might not be a bad idea to let him go 60 inches so that maybe the top of the fences are closer. Just thinking out loud.
Well, there, and of course, there's cost factor too, I mean, taller you go, the more you pay.
I would want to make the motion that we approve it up to 5 feet. It's his call. If you think that's a reasonable motion. With the fence guy.
I don't see as to where it would be that big of a deal. It would give him options.
Yeah. Okay, well, Mr. Chairman, I would move we approve case number 21-999-09, allowing the applicant to go up to 60 inches as he decides.
A second. I was.
Okay, since we've got a motion and a second, let's see what we can do. maybe I'll pronounce your name correctly this time, Sarah Wimberly,
Yes.
Roy Brown,
Yes.
Aaron Crosley,
Yes.
and Jack Lehman.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Variance passes. Good luck to you, sir. All right. Next case, 21-999-10. It's Dan Wilson, Wilson Homes and Construction. The address is 15928 East Cogan Lane. Have we got a movie?
If we can hang on just here a minute, let me
Okay.
get this going. Whoops, come on. Yes, this is a request by Wilson, Dan Wilson of Wilson Homes and Construction, for to install a garage in the rear yard of this property there on Cogan Lane, 15928 East Cogan Lane. The vicinity map shows the location of this property. It's on the north side of Cogan Lane, I don't know, a block and a half east of 24 Highway. This shows the location of the site. Again, 24 Highway is there on the left. The property that's involved in this is this L-shaped piece that the black circle incorporates. On these little lots along Cogan Lane, this is the last one, and it extends, the driveway will extend from Cogan Lane, go north to, and run into a house there that will be on the northern half of the larger part of the lot. He's seeking to install a garage that will be in the lower part of that dark area. As you can see, it sort of looks like a, I don't know what you call it, a little plateau there. There are lots on, houses on all these lots except for the very last lot, which is next to, it's between the house here and on the end. This is the plot plan for the house and the proposed garage. You can see where the lot extends there on the right side. It goes down to Cogan Lane. The driveway comes up in this area and goes to the house, which has a multi-car garage there in the house, and then it also goes west to the applicant's proposed 48 by 72 foot accessory building. And there is, the issue is that there's a coverage, the maximum coverage of the accessory building in the rear yard. They seek to install, well, the maximum limit for an accessory building in the rear yard is about 2,206 square feet. And the applicant seeks to construct a garage with 3,456 square feet, which is 48 by 72, requiring a variance of about 1,250 square feet. Okay, here we're in the approximate, nothing is under construction yet, so it's all, everything's approximate location. This is about where the driveway would come off Cogan and go north, straight north, before turning further up the road and turning left and going into the house and also into the accessory building. This property actually abuts some commercial properties along 24 Highway. This is about where the garage would be. constructed a little bit further south of this, closer to those houses that are along Cogan. Those are all houses that were constructed in the last 3 or 4 years. They have that a privacy fence there along the backs of their properties. This is another one that shows, again, looks more to the southwest than the previous did. You can see a little bit more of the commercial property there on the far right. And this is, if you look directly west from the site, that is a commercial building that fronts on the 24 highway. And here we're standing about where the house would be. And to the left is the where the driveway would go out and come out about down there where that white truck would be, somewhere in that range. And this is another shot. This is to the south, looking to the southeast from where the garage would be approximately. Again, the driveway would come out and then go down that west-east property line along that where you see the cars in the driveway down there and come out onto Cogan Lane. And this is the front of the houses that actually front onto Cogan Lane that will be south of the garage. They do have the 6-foot wood fence along the back property lines. Again, this is there's a vacant lot here, and then next to that is a lot that extends north and northwest into the area that the applicants will seek to build the house. And I can go through any of those again if you have any questions. It's not really easy to take pictures when there's really nothing to identify locations out there. So you just have to imagine.
Okay. We have the presenter here, the applicant. Please state your name and your address.
Yeah, Dan Wilson, 15803 East 24 Highway. This is what we're intending to do. This is going to be our personal home. We've took this whole area and which I don't know if you all ever remember what it was, but we tore everything down and we started all the new homes. We've built all of them. We actually have 2 more that's going in right there at the end before we go into ours going in. And the commercial ground right behind it goes all the way up to the farmhouse realty that my wife built up on the highway. So we're going to be building a big commercial building here shortly in between where my house will be and where the farmhouse realty building is at, right beside Slate X Hardware there. We're asking for this building where my house, the easements that we have, they have a gas easement going in, and they also have a sewer easement going in, so we can't move the house any farther down to get the bigger backyard. So that's the reason why we're sitting here asking for this easement. And we're using this building. I have a rather large RV that we put in there, and of course have a lot of toys that we need to store. If you're familiar, we had a home there at 1320 South Lee Summit Road, a big gray house set up on the hill. We had the exact same building in the backyard. So if you've drove by that, you'll see that this building will be identical to that building. So, and that's pretty much it. We just don't have enough room because of those easements to get it back to where we need it.
Any questions for the applicant?
Just for clarification, the reason that you need the variance on size is because your lot was forced to be smaller than you wanted it to be because of the easements. Is that correct?
Well, the lot's the same, but it doesn't let me move my house around to where I could make the backyard a lot bigger if I hadn't had those easements running through there. So
Okay.
yes, your question basically is what, yes.
Okay.
Anything else? Any other questions for this gentleman?
Have you considered building a smaller garage?
I have not.
If you have a large RV, you need it, don't you?
I do. And I like to keep it inside. I haven't had any feedback from anybody that I've talked to, so all the neighbors, like I said, we've built the homes, we're putting them in there, so.
We got any calls on this one, Stuart?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay. Any other questions for this gentleman?
We have to answer the review criteria. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, the staff had mentioned that perhaps a house could be moved east to create a larger rear yard, and you're basically saying that because of the utilities, that's not possible?
Oh, the house could maybe be moved 5 or 6 feet. That's about it.
Okay.
Which that does free up a little more backyard.
Is that something you're willing to do, or not really?
Not really. I
Okay.
pretty much had it. This is where my wife said it was supposed to be, so that's where it's going.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
I understand. So, explain why you couldn't go, say, 40 by 72 or 36 by 72 or
No.
just,
48 by 72 is what I'm asking for.
I understand that. I just wondered if there's any way you could get by with less, and you're basically saying you can't.
I can't.
Okay. And for you, that's a very practical consideration. We have to answer the comments. Okay.
We want it to look nice. We've built many of these outbuildings, and we're going to be living in that area. We're actually building a nice home there. And, you know, we want everything to look nice, so the building is going to fit in fine, and the building will look good. And it's not going to affect any of my neighbors. And we own the commercial ground, like I said, all around behind, and the 2 lots where we're getting ready to build the 2 new homes beside it. So there's nothing much adverse that could come out of it.
Anything else for the presenter? No? Take a seat.
Thank you.
Stand by for just a few minutes.
I'll be here.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this variance request?
I'll make it short and quick to the point, because I know everybody wants to go home. My name is Donnie Slottick. My family and I own the Slottick Hardware Store to the north of his property there. Talking about the utility easements and stuff that are put in place. That was done basically when the city originally went to put this infrastructure for the sewer in there on a bond, I guess, or whatever. Originally, that was supposed to go around behind our building and up over around where the Quick Trip is now. But somehow that got changed in the process, and it got driven up beside our building and his property there. And because our building, we've been there 34 years approximately right now, and they put the sewer in the ground right next to our building. Well, our building sits real close to the property line, about 7 foot to the property line with his. So they put the sewer line over into his property a good ways because it's in the ground approximately 25 feet. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with, when you dig a hole 25 foot deep in the ground, you have to bench it. You can't just go right up next to the property line, put it right next to the building, because it'd be in jeopardy of our building falling into that hole because of settling and stuff. So that's why he's having the problem with the utility easements with that. The other thing, I'm in favor of him having his garage with the request of his, in the committee here, because all Dan's done in our area up around me has built nice buildings all around. Like he said, he has built all those homes. He has increased all the property values around there, including probably ours too. He's increased my taxes, which, yeah, I'm not in favor of, but we all have them. But when the man tells you he's gonna build something and do something, he's gonna keep his word, and it's gonna be what he says it's gonna be. And I think it will be a benefit to the neighborhood. And like he said, he's gonna live there. It's his home. So it's not like he's gonna build it, walk away, and it's not his problem. It is his problem. And like I said, he does have a nice motorhome, and it does need to be inside. So that's about all I have to say, just other than that I think he should get it approved.
Okay. Any questions for this presenter? No?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? Unless it's the invisible man back there, I guess we're not going to go there. All right, anyone wishing to speak in opposition? And we didn't get any calls on this? We don't have anybody on the line waiting? No? Okay. Well, then I guess we can close this public hearing. Try to figure this out. Anybody have any thoughts?
Pretty big size structure.
Well, Mr. Chairman, my comments are, maybe he hasn't exactly met all of the review criteria, but I think that it's close enough. He's, not causing anybody any problems, and he doesn't think he can build a smaller building because of for his usage, and I don't see any reason why we can't approve this variance myself.
I agree that it's such a unique lot too, the way that the garage is. I mean, everything's kind of tucked back behind everything. I would note that the city recommends that we place a condition on the variance that the house also be constructed on this lot and be completed and receive a certificate of occupancy within 12 months of the garage being complete and receiving final inspection approval. And I think that sounds reasonable myself.
Anybody else?
I would like to have seen the house move further, closer to the street, but because of the different utilities there, you might move it, 5 feet at the most, and still have any room for the water line and things like that, so I don't think you have much choice. This location is probably pretty good.
Anybody else? Okay. Do we meet the criteria on this one?
I would just like to point out that if the house is moved east about 10 feet, that would give him 1,400 square feet of additional area that potentially he could build the garage. Because the lot is 140 feet wide, deep, whatever. And just moving the building that much closer, potentially he could pick up enough to build the garage without a variance. But anyway. I'd have to take that back. That's not correct. I'd have to recalculate that. I don't have a calculator with me, but that is not correct.
Could we give him the option of moving the house up to 10 feet as he takes another look at it, but not requiring that as a point of approving this variance?
He could take it as an advisory, but you would still have to establish a limit.
It wouldn't take away from our variance if we pass a variance if he decides to move his house.
That's right. I mean,
Yeah.
if you,
Okay.
and it would be up to him. It'd be more an advisory thing. I'm sorry, like I said, that math of mine was incorrect.
Anybody else got anything to add, help?
If you did move it 10 feet east, you could pick up about 210 square feet additional, which is less than the 1,250 square feet that he's seeking. So you'd have to move it significantly east.
And that's based on moving it 10 feet?
Yeah, because the lot's 140 feet wide, and move it 10 feet, that's 1,400 square feet, and then 15% of that gives you about 210 additional square foot for the garage.
a second on that? Well, having a motion and a second, I guess we're gonna take this one to a vote. Sarah Wimberly.
Yes.
Roy Brown.
Yes.
Aaron Crosley.
Yes.
And Jack Lehman.
Yes.
I vote yes as well. Variance is approved.
Let me make sure I've got that second condition right. So it would be to move the house east 10 feet? That's correct? Yes, okay.
Yes.
You're no longer human. It does keep throwing me off. When I look
Apparently.
at it. There's a box, like the
No, that's what it
attendee
is.
box.
Thought you guys disappeared. There you go. You know, somebody has to.
We do still have our minutes to approve. Mr. Chairman, we still do need to approve our minutes from last.
Yes.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure Stuart got all he needed.
Okay, okay.
On that
Thank you.
clarification. Good luck to you, sir. Okay. Well, no, he didn't, well, you know, give him a feather, he'll get tickled. Okay, did everyone get the opportunity to review the minutes from the last meeting?
So they stand approved as submitted?
Well, what did you add to moving it 10 feet, didn't you? That was the motion.
No, but I mean the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on that case. Okay. Yeah, the minutes as presented. Does anybody need to change anything?
Nope.
No? Okay. All in favor, approval?
Aye.
Say aye. Oppose? No, not hearing anything? That passed. Okay. We'll adjourn this meeting.